Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Suzanne Purcell, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or sip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Point to Rise podcast. This is Suzanne, and I am doing a solo episode of the Coffee Chat with Chrissy today. Chrissy is still recovering from past things that happened in her life, and I know you respect her time and giving her that time, and so do I. I truly believe that that is really necessary. So I've decided to hop on here anyways because I have a lot I want to talk to you about. So here is the topic for today. I was listening to a podcast. It's called Build for Change, and they were talking about how consumer behaviors have changed after really like the thick of the pandemic. And I found it so interesting because you know me, I like to draw the bridge between, what does that actually mean for the performing arts? So before we get all into that, let's back up and really look at where we were at before the pandemic as people, as consumers, and what has changed really. So before, we were as a collective, as human beings in the daily rut, right? Like we knew what it was supposed to be like, our 9 to 5, our 10 to 8, 6 days out of the week, whatever that was for you. And you have gotten used to it, and your priorities were in bringing food on the table, accelerating at work, getting the title, progressing, and. And I'm not saying that everybody was like that. However, many of us had these kind of goals set out and made them their, I would say, most important on the list to chase every single day, right? We would get up and we would do the same thing over and over and over again. And the pandemic took us out of that rut. The pandemic showed us other things that could be important to us. The pandemic showed us, gave us a microscope and allowed us to take a real big look at our life. And it's just something that we want to continue. It allowed us and gave us the time to organize. Remember, everybody started with organizing their house, their drawers, their junk drawers, everything that wasn't really where we wanted it to be got either thrown out or got readjusted or tidied up. And then after that phase, we went into a self-reflection, right? What else can I do? What else do I want to do? How is my life going to continue after we're going back to, and I'm putting this into air quotes, into normal? So with that said, there is a huge shift that we're seeing in where people are putting their priorities right now. We as a society have reallocated and re-specified how and with whom we are spending our time, because we realized that we were in this continuously rut, and it wasn't producing anything exciting. So with this newfound, I would say even purpose and priorities, what really matters in our life, we also changed as a human collective on how we purchase, how we consume, what are our new standards on when we're deciding to consume. There has been a research study, according to this podcast. It's Kevin Queering, a customer sales and service expert with Accenture Strategy. They track the consumers' attitudes to things like pricing, quality promotion, experience, trust, your loyalty, digital adoption, and, right? And work is not the most important thing in life anymore. For people, they are more focused on politics, mental health, health overall, being with their family, being with friends, having interactions outside of their work environment, building community. They just want to be with the people that matter to them most. So what does that mean for businesses, right? Do businesses actually still know their consumers, their customers? And I'm bringing this up even though we're not yet seeing performing arts as a business, perhaps because they're non-for-profit. However, they're relying on consumer interactions in order to sustain themselves, right? To be relevant in today's market. And this is why I'm bringing this up. I think we have, as in the industry, has for quite some time not done their research in terms of actually really knowing their consumers and what is important to them. So when we're looking at the Wolf of Wall Street, I don't know if you know the movie, but it was really, if you remember that scene where Leonardo DiCaprio tries to sell that pen, the best quality for the cheapest price. And according to this research project, everything has changed after this pandemic. It has been a universal change. Every single person that has been affected, and a lot of people are coming out of the pandemic completely changed. I know I am, right? So this shift can be used as opportunity for growth, right? Go back to Ascent strategy research, okay? So they also track what compels consumers to switch brands or service providers. Over the last 16 years, their surveys have revealed shifts in customer expectations. Things like good customer service and strong brand purpose became more important in recent years. But these brands have always come second to the main drivers of consumer behavior, and that, as I said before, was price and quality, or the traditional motivations to consume prior to the pandemic were low price and high quality. But in this year's research that the company had put out, something big happened. The team found that consumers actually have changed. So the thing that really shocked the research team was the answer to a key question that they had added this year for obvious reasons. And that question was, the pandemic made me totally revise my personal purpose and what's important to me in life. It's a really powerful and unambiguous statement that consumers were asked to respond to. And what they found was that half of the consumers actually agreed that they had changed. So only 17% disagreed, and the rest, the firm calls them the purpose curious ones. They're unsure if the pandemic made them totally revise their purpose in life, but their answer did indicate that they're evolving, meaning in total, 83% of consumers are evolving in their big idea about life. And typically, when we see something like that, you're going to go to a specific demographic, right? Like a new generation. So it wasn't that way, though. The reset and the purpose was not limited to either Gen Z or the millennials or any kind of urban residents, how we usually can pinpoint change to the usual suspects, as I said, in a new generation. So with that said, they don't have clear demographic distinctions, nor gender or employment, income level, age, or any kind of geographical locations. They're just generally a large group of people. So Essential strategy calls them reimagine customers or reimagine consumers, a group of people that find themselves fundamentally changed because of the pandemic. They have taken stock in what really matters to them in life and they value, how they spend their time. And that has directly affected and impacted how they shop, how they consume, and who they interact with. So consumer behaviors has really, really changed. The circumstances that they found themselves in have been exceptionally, right? And people have stopped to think about their own purpose, and that has meant that they are and that they have reconsidered what's actually important to them, both in terms of how they live their life, but also in terms of what kind of brand or service they engage with. Consumers have changed and they're not spending less. They are just spending differently. And that's quite important to see that little nugget. It's not about how much, it's about what's behind it and where they're investing their money in, right? The focus on price and quality has been there, but increasingly they're actually seeing that people are much, much more focused on values that matter to them as a driver of choice in terms of which brands and services they actually engage with. So with this said, with these new motivation and the new focus on what is important to consumers versus the old motivation that was, price and quality. So let's get into what does the Reimagine consumer wants and how does that relate to performing arts? So first one is health and safety, right? It's all about safety in the environment that people are in and beyond their homes. What can we bring in? It becomes really important. You've gotten some supermarkets, for example, they're now talking about spray for all the carts with antibacterial spray to ensure that there's no contact at all, right? Contactless payment, all sorts of things that basically help you look after yourself and your family and the people that you love, okay? But then consumers also told them that it's not just about keeping themselves and their family safe, but it's also what do companies do to keep their employees safe? Consumers, especially the Reimagine consumer, told them that categorically they make purchasing decisions based on how they actually perceive a company treats their employees. And I find that super, super important. So no longer is it all about the product, but it is about the people that are actually making the product. And that is a very subtle switch, but yet such an important switch, because if we're dragging that over, if we're building that bridge to the performing arts, when we see that consumer switch actually and looking at people, particularly in the newer generations, and looking and making their decision whether or not they're attending a show on how companies actually treat their people, their employees, are they keeping them safe? How much are they investing back into their employees? I think we have some work to do in that term, right? So that performing arts are actually staying relevant in the market and see some growth happening versus dipping off and falling off. So the second one, that consumers are increasingly demanding personal care and service. That is so important to them. So the question is, are you there when I need you? And I can relate to that. Like, I have no patience. I don't want to stay in a line. I don't want to wait. I want to go on. I want it frictionless and it needs to be done, right? It's that kind of service level, the return policy, the personalization. How much am I seen in a company? Am I seen as a transaction, or am I seen as somebody that is super important to that company, regardless on how big they are, right? So this can take the form of quick responding customer service or small gestures that let the consumers know that they are individuals and they are valued. And thirdly, they want those personalized experience to be easy and convenient. So let me give you an example. I try to go in and buy tickets or just look at the process of what it means in an average ballet company to buy tickets on my mobile phone, right? And not only is it mostly done through third parties, that the price was shocking to me. Like, I would never spend $180 for an orchestra seat in a matinee in New York City, never ever, plus some additional fees that were not worked in. There is no transparency there. I don't know how much actually the ballet company receives back from that media company that is handling all the ticket sales. And it took 10 steps, I think, to get to the ticket. They wanted so many informations. And that was too much for me. That was not frictionless. That was not, or I wasn't able to make a quick decision. And hear me out on this one. You know, we have so many choices nowadays, and making a decision is becoming harder and harder and harder, meaning that it takes more energy, brain energy, to make decisions. And when I have made a decision and I can't finish that, or I find too much friction, I'm not going to buy at all. And I think there is a big opportunity for us in performing arts to actually really see how consumers want to buy tickets. Why does it need to be so complicated? Why do I need to give you all of my information? Do I have other options? How can I become, a part? It was just very complicated, and I did not appreciate it. So it's about meeting where the consumers are and not really believing in, oh, well, we're putting on a show, so therefore they're going to come here. That really has shifted over the past, I would say, 10 years strongly, and even more now, right? So it's about meeting your consumers where they are, and in a digital world and the physical world, building the connection between digital and physical. And I think that is so important. Things like being able to change a flight on an app or over the phone, or buying something online and picking it up in person, or being able to virtually try on for products like makeup or glasses, or in order to prevent the hassle of returning when shopping online, right? Ultimately, does the company make the experience easy so I can spend more time on what really matters to me? And at the same time, customers very much expect that they can receive all of the above services without compromising any ethics, okay? The fourth motivator is sustainability and product origin. So the Reimagine consumers specifically care very much about the environment, about the societal and corporate responsibility, and about where companies get their raw materials. That is impressive, right? So where their products are made and whether or not they support the local community. And finally, consumers are looking for brands that they can actually trust, so that they operate by the values they're presenting to the public. It's about trusting you. It's about trusting the organizations and the people in the organization, the company, to do the right thing for me, and not just for their business, and doing the right thing not only for me as a consumer, but also for the people that are working with them, right? So all of this research adds up to something super big. Yes, if companies can meet these reimagined consumer expectations, they can tap into growth. But on the other hand, companies that are not doing anything about this, they actually risk losing their consumers that they once had, because they're different now. Just offering the best quality at the lowest price is just not enough anymore. I want to get back to transparency and the trust. Can people actually trust the organization? And I think that is such an important thing. When I look through companies, performing arts companies, what their mission and vision is, and what is actually going on behind closed doors, that doesn't align. And I understand that we have not been living that way, but if there is a time, this is right now. because it has even a bigger impact. It's not only what you're creating within the closed doors of respect and vulnerability and learning capability and trust within each other. You will have a different product. You will have a product out there that will be conducive to so many more people that are really, really, really longing for these four things that I just went through. So consumers actually have become a bit more empowered after this pandemic. Not only have they reconsidered what's important, but they have realized that the possibilities are endless. And if they go searching, and then brands therefore have a sort of high bar of expectations to meet, right? So let me close with this today, that this study has really left a mark in my soul, because with consumers being different now, the reimagined consumer has found a different purpose, a different motivation in life. And therefore, they are structuring their purchasing habits, their decision-making habits differently. And that means the way performing arts have done marketing, how they have positioned them in the market, how they have looked at their organizations has to change. It also needs to be reimagined. And what that looks like, well, if you head over to Rise Media's page, I can tell you, my team and I, we have done the first steps on how reimagined entertainment in the performing arts could look like, how everybody can step out of the starving artist mentality into a fulfilling life that does not require 6 days a week, 10 hours a day for a minimum wage. I think those times are over. We are in a new age. Everything is changing, and the performing arts can definitely align with that. So thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope this made sense. I understand that this might not be your jam, but as a performer, as a part of a company, I urge you to understand the meanings and the how a company works, right? You showing up as your very best self also means to understand parts of the business on how you can contribute to turn your consumers into raving fans, how to change your company from best value for the lowest price to an organization that has, you know, values and a vision, and everybody in that organization can can align with that and knows what that is. So head over to Rise Media, have a look at it. I appreciate you so much. I would love it if you could share your biggest takeaways of this podcast. I'm sending you so much love. Till next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.